street I grew up on was very close. The families were close. We would borrow each other's yard tools, sometimes food, in and out of each other's houses. It was um, a suburban type neighborhood in the Caribbean, and everyone was very close. All the kids, we all grew up like siblings. I had siblings. I'm the youngest, and we all just grew up like family. So you had paired off siblings, like my older siblings may be closer in age to other kids on the block, but and they would be friends, but we all be siblings. It was just a very close community. And there are some people on that block, on that strip of houses. It's I would say maybe 20 houses on that one street, maybe more. Um, we all grew up, skipping rope, playing tag, just everything. And there's some people uh, on our block that are, I would call them staples. They were born, raised, and they stayed in the community. So those of us that moved away when I was 17, I left for the military. So I would come back, frequently, and you come back and you see them, and everyone's aging, but we're all just very close. I can't think on anyone on that street who were like enemies. And the street, it was that one street, but it was a community of different streets. So it had a street on the back side of my house, and depending on who you were cool with those people on that street. There was another street on the other side. Depending on who you were just cool with all the different streets. But some people were germane to that one street. I was a drifter, so I was on all the streets, and there were just a lot of love on that block. And there was a friend of ours, two houses down. Name is Angie. She stayed there. She was, I mean, one of the best people you would ever meet. Always friendly. She liked jokes. She would always remind me of this joke when I was riding my bike, and she was older than I was, about 3 years older, and she liked, I would say, to see foolishness. Like, she liked to laugh. And one time I was riding my bicycle and I couldn't make the turn, and I ran straight into a cactus tree and got all prickly and got out, and I was crying. I think I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. And she forever, we had this joke about me running into that tree. And she stayed there. She always kept a small pocket dog. It was just a great community. And over the recent years, it was her and her mother only that lived in the house. She didn't have any siblings that I know of. And um, everyone just knew her. Everyone knew each other, as I said earlier. But I just can't emphasize enough in words how bonded we just all are. We all spread across the world. You got people living in California from kids. We have friends in Texas. We got friends just everywhere. And we all just, stay in touch and pretty much just get along. Um, Angie was one that many people love. Never seen her in an argument, fight, anything in her life. In the past couple of years, she started to maybe sink within herself. As we know, we change every 7 years. We're not the same person. And she started to sink. And about a month and a half ago, my oldest brother, he's there in the neighborhood as well, at the house with my mom. He called me. He said, I think something's going on with Angie. Now she doesn't want to leave the house. Well, tragically, Angie died about 2 days after the New Year's. And that has crippled our community. The story is that her mother took a nap, couldn't find her, called one of the other neighbors. Actually, her longtime boyfriend helped try to look for her. They couldn't find her. He went into her bedroom. Eventually, the sun started to go down. He's like, I can't find her. Went into the bedroom. Cliff notes I'm giving. Discovered her body in her closet. She slit her throat with a machete. over the past year, next month will make a year since the passing of my aunt, who lived next door to me, who was like my second mother. The month after that makes marks the year of losing my dad, who raised me with my mother and my siblings. And other tragedies, of course, took throughout the year. A cousin died just before New Year's. He was like a brother. He grew up in the house with us. This is not about me, though. I'm trying to take us somewhere. This is about us. When they explained that Angie, to us, we're bewildered, tried to take her life 2 years prior and she wasn't successful. I'm just like, this is the worst tragedy that I've ever felt with the series of things that have been happening in my life. And the message I really want to bring, as I know many of us have challenges that we go through, tragedies, is don't sink within yourself. Angie removed all the light bulbs in her house. She stayed in her bedroom. She wouldn't come out. I think she was just sinking into herself. And I was telling my brother on one of our calls that I actually understand that mindset. I understand sinking in yourself and the wrong thoughts taking shape in your mind. And if you're not connected with people or have someone that counters those messages of grief that's happening in your mind or trauma, you can find yourself listening to those voices that are wrong and dominating the decision that you would make with your life. I understand that mind. Fortunately, I have people around me to walk me from that, walk me away from those thoughts. Because the thoughts can be so grappling that not necessarily that you take your life, but that you end your life. Taking your life at your hands actively or ending your life passively. You can end your life by stressing so much that your body starts to give out. Your mind starts to shut down. Your organs start to shut down. You get a stroke, you get a heart attack, whatever it is, from grief. And the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He's the architect of lies and death. And in grief and in those places when you're by yourself, that's where he wants you and that's where he prevails. That's how predators get their meals. They look at the weak, the sick, or the young, the old, and try to separate them from the herd so that they're helpless. And unfortunately, I don't know. She's not here to explain what was happening in her mind, but what I do know is being alone and listening to those voices is dangerous. And that what you're dealing with or whatever you have dealt with or going through or whatever, you got to be careful to not let those messages prevail. You got to make sure that you stay connected, stay prayed up, stay read up, stay worshiped up, have faith. But those things are so easy to say, right? Because those things require your own action to counter what's being said. You the easier thing is just to have people around you that cares. And one of the downsides is there are so many people around that don't care. And they use your grief as gossip. They use your pain as gossip. They use your trauma as the next story and they move on. And sometimes, I mean, we would even see it in the public space. There are people who would just chime in with negative things from clip notes, and they just don't know what you're dealing with. On the wider scale, we've seen like Chadwick Boseman dealing with cancer, and in his last days, everyone's having something negative to say. And we sometimes don't show up. Don't show up. Even some of the closest people, your family and friends, they just don't show up depending on how they perceive you, what they think, their own makeup. There's so many dynamics that go into place that causes people not to show up and causes people to take or end their lives. And that is a final curtain call. That is a tragedy when you go out earlier than you should. We are here to spread goodness and leave rooms better than we met it. And we all hit bumps, we all stumble, we all fall into things that, causes us dismay or maybe bad judgment, whatever. But when those things happen, who's around you as an anchor to pull you back centered, to bring you back to the middle? It's very important. And I hate this happened. I hate we lost her. And I hate that this is going to be an open wound probably for the rest of our lives. It's one thing for someone to die of an injury, illness, old age. But there sicknesses in us that we can't see. They don't always show up with symptoms as sores or aches and pains. Sometimes it's in our mind. And if we don't stop to take a second to identify those things that are happening with people, we're doing a disservice to mankind by letting those people sink within themselves. It's cliche to just be saying love each other and all that good stuff. It's just cliche. We say these things, right? But on a very intimate micro level, I want us to really stop and tap in to what's happening around us, because that final decision, that the last decision we decide to make before we leave this earth, is a permanent one that now removes us from the continued work and the continued influence that other people rely on. This is a tough loss, and I don't want you to incur the same things as best as you can. Always remember, the man who fails is the man who tries.